We're going to hear from Tatiana Moroz today from Tatiana Coin and Crypto Media Hub. Welcome her, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for staying and not running off to lunch and coming to hang with me. I'm pretty new to the whole speaking thing. I've only really started doing it a few years ago. But I ended up here somehow in the wonderful world of crypto. And I've, of course, fallen in love with the community and with the technology, if you could believe that one. I thought, what I wanted to talk to you about was a little bit about my journey and why I find cryptocurrency to be such a critical component for artists. I know a lot of people talk about registering your work on the blockchain and different kinds of utility like that. For me, it was all about fans and funding, and these were the core problems that we tried to solve. But how did I end up in this weird thing in the first place? That's a good question. So I grew up in New Jersey. My mom was from Warsaw. My father was from Brooklyn. And my mom would always take me skiing, and she would play all that music from the 60s and the 70s, all those revolutionary songwriters. I think I had a little bit of that rebel spirit even early on. And I remember listening to the song Peace Train by Cat Stevens and thinking, wow, you could use music to convey a message, and more importantly, to motivate people around an idea. And I thought that was, something that really stuck with me. In high school, I read a lot of dystopian novels, so 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, basically was very thoroughly frightened of the future. And I was really interested in how humanity is sort of organized. What's the best way that we could work things out? I remember I went to my mom when I was, 6 or 7, and I said, Mom, why don't we all just put our money into a pile, and then people will just take whatever they need. And she was like, Tanya, that's communism and it doesn't work. So she was from Warsaw. I think she knew what she was talking about. So I went back to the drawing board. Around high school, I found out that Britney Spears was here to destroy all music. And so I stopped listening to the radio. And I went to Berklee College of Music up in Boston. And I sort of kind of delved into a lot of older music. So I did a lot of jazz stuff and a lot of like Stevie Wonder. I went on a really long Stevie tear. And after I graduated school, I started working at various top-level recording studios in Manhattan. And I really dreamed of having a singer-songwriter career. But even though I felt I had generally the components that you would need. I went to a good school, I was smart, I was hustling, I was cute, and I could play the guitar, right? I should be able to get somewhere with this $100,000 education at a music school. Thumbs down on that. No, just kidding. So, I was recording my music at the studio and stuff like that, and what I would notice is that we had all of these empty rooms, and only these major label artists were able to use the rooms, and then the rest of the time the rooms would just sit there empty. And as you can imagine, it was really frustrating. I remember there was this one specific hip-hop artist that was just awful, and I was like, how does she get to have all of this, and the rest of us are just slaves at the bottom of the, at the bottom of the pile? I continued to educate myself and to learn about the world, and I sort of went off onto I started watching all these different documentaries and stuff. And in 2008, I got politically active, and I was a really big fan of Dennis Kucinich from Ohio. And I was like, this guy's great. I heard about Ron Paul, but I couldn't understand why he didn't like the EPA. I was like, this is a guy, he needs to get his facts straight. The EPA is cool, and we all need universal health care. I hope I'm not offending people with my blatant, rampant libertarianism. But after 2008, nobody good won. And, well, I guess it depends on who you ask. But anyway, so in 2012, actually in 2011, I found out about the Federal Reserve. And to me, this was a revelation. I was like, these guys gotta go. And I watched America, Freedom to Fascism and Fiat Empire and The Money Masters and all of these movies. And I started getting into libertarianism and Austrian economics. And that was sort of unusual, right? A musician that likes economics. But if you're interested in how the world works and if you want to have an impact on the world, then, economics is a really great place to start. So I kind of inserted myself into the libertarian community, and I was afforded the opportunity of playing all around the country to thousands and thousands of people from the left, people from the right, all united under this idea of individual liberty, non-aggression principle, sound money, and all that good stuff. And in 2012, in August, I thought that was, to me, the death of America in my mind, because I always believed that, okay, at least, the elections are real. And what happened with Ron Paul, for those of you who were maybe not following along, was whether or not you like him is irrelevant. His own party was changing their own rules in order to keep him out consistently. And the media was shredding him, and they wouldn't let him have a chance. We would show up to an event, there would be over 4,000 people there, and they'd say, oh, there are a couple hundred people. I'm like, really? Go back to school and learn some counting skills, guys. So that was a little bit disheartening, as you can imagine. And at the same time, I still had that love of the philosophy and that belief in liberty as something that could be, maybe not the perfect thing, but the best thing that I could think of for mankind. And around then, I found out about Bitcoin. In August of 2012, the guys from BitPay were kind enough to sponsor my performance down in Florida. And they came up to New York, and they told me for 3 hours all about Bitcoin. And let me tell you something. I did not want to hear about this at all. I hate technology. I hate finance. And I didn't want to talk about any of it. But I gave them $500, and I said, all right, fine. You guys take my money. Just stop talking. And so I bought my first Bitcoins at $11. And unfortunately, I did not keep them. I wish I did. I sold them at like $100 or something. I mean, like a musician, we're not exactly rolling in the dough. So then I sort of started delving in deeper. But what I realized once I, was titillated by the rise in the price was the idea of what Bitcoin could do for people. A friend of mine, Jeffrey Tucker, he kind of has this very eloquent way of painting a picture of the future with cryptocurrency, and he sort of solidified that love affair with Bitcoin. And what I wanted to do was, I thought, okay, I hate the Fed. I know all about this monetary stuff, well, as much as, could be expected from somebody who went to music school, but still, I knew something. And that wasn't the thing that made me care. And so I figured, all right, well, if you're going to try and get people to care about this, it's not going to work if you tell them about the Fed. No one cares about that, except for like 2 people in the room. Actually, maybe a little bit more in this room. But I figured the thing that I was best at was music. So I was like, okay, I should write a jingle about it. So I'm going to sort of play that jingle for you guys, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story. So I went down to Buenos Aires, and it was the first time I had ever played this song, and it was right when Bitcoin was at its basically like its peak. It was like $1,000. Everybody was like going crazy, and what I wanted to do with this song, it's really simple, but to really capture the spirit that brought all these people from so many different backgrounds together. So if you listen to lyrics, you might have a sense of the ethos of the crypto community. This is called the Bitcoin Jingle. Didn't want to give any of my money to a nation based on war. I wanted to be free, nothing holding me back from where I want to go. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? It was to take away the money, don't give up your money, use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. I didn't want to waste any of my time working for the government. I wanted to be kind, open up my mind just like an instrument. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? It was to take away the money, don't give up your money, use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Ooh, ooh. What a little crypto can do. No longer a slave. I don't have to work until the grave. So many times I cried to myself that we didn't have a chance. Nakamoto came along with more than a song, gave the labor back to man. I thought about it. What was the choice that I made? It was to take away the money. Don't give up your money. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Thank you. So that was really cool, right? That was the reaction I got. I was like, yeah, this are my people. And after that, I did a song called Masters of War. Some of you guys know that song. It's an old Bob Dylan song. And that really connected me to Andreas Antonopoulos, who, amazing for like a million reasons. But, Andreas and I really connected on that anti-war message. And that's when I also became friends with the co-host of his podcast, Let's Talk Bitcoin, Adam B. Levine. And Adam had a network called Let's Talk Bitcoin Network, and they decided to try and experiment with creating a community coin that would be used to reward the podcasters. Advertisers could use it in order to buy advertising and get it at a discount, and the fans would get rewarded for listening. And so at the same time, he also appreciated the artist struggle. And I said to Adam, we decided to basically create what was considered the first ever artist cryptocurrency in the world. So we used Counterparty. This was 2014. Ethereum wasn't ready. There were no ERC20 tokens, none of that. And what we thought was, for me, again, artists need two main things: fans and funding. How do I make sure that I don't play to the waitress, the bartender, and my mom in the audience, and that's it, and it's terrible, not fun, let me assure you. And how do I make sure that I don't have 5 waitressing jobs, plus like a day job, and then trying to do music at night? It doesn't really leave you a lot of time. And, everybody wants to be super famous and super appreciated, but I also think it's really important to just give artists an option for a really genuine career. So the first function was funding. So crowdfunding was going on. This is past Amanda Palmer days. And the problem with Kickstarter and things like that is that, okay, you donate $50, you get a t-shirt. That's not the most flattering outfit in the world, but you're stuck with a stupid t-shirt. And there's no real transferability there. With the artist coin, so you'd give me $50 and I would give you $50 with a Tatiana coin. You could hold on to those. You can use them later in my store like a digital gift certificate. You can send $5 worth to your mom, $5 worth to your cousin, keep the rest for yourself, use it for later, use it right now. So there was a lot more flexibility for the fans. It would have been kind of interesting to offer sort of like more of a speculative value, but we weren't trying to do that. And that was also very different from the projects at the time. I wasn't looking to make millions of dollars. I just wanted to fund my record. And then the other thought that I had was, I really enjoyed using social media. I was born with a phone attached to me. So, social media was a natural fit, and it was a great opportunity for artists that didn't have any money. And I loved that, except that when I went from Friendster to MySpace to Facebook, I would lose my fans going along the way because the platform had owned that relationship. And as you see with Facebook, there's all sorts of censorship. They're raping your data. They're like, you have to pay them to reach your own fans. And if you try and leave the platform, you're not taking those people with you. So with the artist coin, it allows you to have a direct connection with your fans. So, I could not have to be tied to a single platform. And that was really critical. So we did a fundraiser. We raised about $10,000, and that was cool. It was really, really much harder than I thought that it would be. I had no experience doing tech. Pretty clear that I don't really like it. But nonetheless, we gave it a shot. And what we figured out after we created the coin was it was almost like we had a car, but we didn't have any roads. And so what we've done since then is build the roads. And I'd like to talk to you about that platform in a little while, and I'll tell you kind of how that's developed and what's happened with Tatiana Coin. But I think I'll give you a little bit more of a personal journey and why that was so important to me. So if you see on this slide here, So that's the record that I did. It's called Keep the Faith. And along my journey, I learned about the Silk Road. Some of you may know about the Silk Road. The Silk Road was an online marketplace where they sold all sorts of things, including, Bibles and medicine. But yes, they also sold marijuana and a couple other drugs, predominantly marijuana. And it was, a really big deal. And when I first heard about it, I don't buy drugs on the internet. It's totally weird. So I didn't really connect with the story. But when I met Lynn, Ross's mom over there, who's giving a talk tomorrow at noon in this room, yes, amazing lady. She really gave me a lot of insight into why this case was important and about all of the corruption in the case. There were a lot of problems associated with that. And I also became good friends with Ross. I've visited him, over a dozen times now in prison. I didn't know him before. I'm like friends with the whole Ulbricht family. But getting to know Ross, it really kind of taught me to appreciate a lot of the things that I have. And it also taught me about something that I really wasn't aware of, which is the terrible, terrible impact of the drug war on millions of people around the world. And it's not just the people that are sitting in cages, it's also their families, and then how that affects generations going forward. And it was horrifying. Really, I fell into like a depression for like 2 or 3 months after going into the first time I went to prison. It was god awful. And when I put out the record, what I wanted to do was underline something that I had noticed. So what I had noticed was, here we are, we're at war for almost 20 years. Why isn't there a single anti-war song on the radio? Seems a little weird to me. There seem to be plenty of anti-war songs in the radio. Well, all the artists are into killing people now. I didn't realize. I didn't get the memo. So I would posit that the reason for that is that it's not profitable to have music that challenges the state. You can't have a controversial message. And in my case, one of my passions was to help with helping Ross and all the other poor slobs that are sitting in cages. And so what I wanted to do is I had a photo of me that Judd Weiss, a famous libertarian photographer, took, and I sent it over to Ross. And for my birthday, he surprised me, and he made me this beautiful drawing by hand from prison that I used as the album cover. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to underline that artists do not have the ability to speak freely anymore because they don't have access to the means to support themselves. So they have to make this garbage music that we're listening to on the radio every single day. So I wanted to challenge that a little bit. I think, I agree, sometimes it's annoying when artists are political, but nonetheless, I think it is important because they give voice to those that can't necessarily speak it. If you are unhappy with certain things in the country, but you have like a super corporate job, you can't really, go running your mouth about it. But if you're an artist, you've got a whole bunch of leeway, and you could really rally people because you have a strong emotional connection with them, and because, you're almost like their representative. So basically, we put out the record. It was funded completely with cryptocurrency, and it's a great opportunity for me to talk about Ross's case and all the other souls that are lost in this system, and just the sheer amount of injustice. So I've become very passionate about that. And on the album, I actually did a song called The Silk Road. So I'd like to sing it for you now. How are we doing on time? Does anybody know what time it is? I'm just curious. Oh, okay, cool. There was a man who did the unspoken. He looked for freedom from the violence. No one is perfect when there's new ground broken. A mess is made and someone gets blamed. He had a dream of harmony as we wish to live out our own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. This ain't the movies, there's a war in the streets. The innocent are in jail. We pray for justice and we wanna be free, and hope the truth will prevail. He had a dream of harmony, as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We can't give up, we cannot quit. Don't be afraid. We have a voice, and this is it. Let the light show the way. He had a dream of harmony, as we wish to live out our own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. Thank you. So obviously, if you want to find out more, please go to freeross.org. They're currently fighting things in the U.S. Supreme Court and putting in an appeal. So Lynn can tell you all about it tomorrow at noon in this room. Like that plug. Anyway, so yeah, I think that music is super powerful. And when I'm able to kind of connect with people on that topic, which is contentious, right? You know, some people, they know people with drug problems. Not everybody is like, yeah, drugs. But the point of the Silk Road was not to let people run rampant, but it was a matter of self-ownership. So it's become something that, I've gotten a chance to learn more about. But back to the platform itself. So Adam and them, they built the roads. And right now what happened was we made a platform where you could do all different kinds of things for artists. So we wanted to make it protocol agnostic. So even though I'm a counterparty gal, we have support for ERC20 tokens and all kinds of different stuff. And we're looking to make it as neutral as possible because, at the end of the day, if somebody I don't want to create another Facebook, right? I want to basically make it so, let's say our platform isn't working well, you could take your coin holders and beat it and go to the next platform, and then there's good competition. So the platform offered a lot of different opportunities. In my mind, it was something where, it offers the artist the opportunity to make their own empire, right? Not something that they're building for some other, jerk at the top. They're making it square one from themselves. And then they can decide who they want to involve in that, but they're not necessarily dependent on funding sources that maybe they don't have access to. So artists are able to create their own digital tokens, anything from an album token to a compilation album, or your own vanity token like a Tatiana coin, or you can do something like a digital tickets or some sort of like a commemorative type of digital token, and they're all tradable, and it kind of encourages people to sort of get into that super fan mode. The coin also opens up the opportunity to text directly, or not text, but message directly with your artist. So if somebody has a certain threshold of Tatiana coins, they can message with me. I can offer them exclusive fan experiences. I can do different kinds of online concerts that are only available to people that, have a certain standing within the community, etc., and a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, streaming, where we could pay artists 2.5 cents a stream versus what Spotify pays, which is like 0.000001. So all of that was super exciting, except for the regulation around this space right now. And that's been a real source of frustration because just a couple months ago, we were pretty much ready to launch. And then we had a 4-day meeting, or the guys had a 4-day meeting with the lawyers, and they basically crushed our dreams. And now we've sort of had to take a step back, which was quite frustrating, as you can imagine, because here we are. I'm like, and they're like, no. I'm like, oh, Okay. And their concern is that we could potentially be accidentally issuing securities. Not that we would want to, but it would basically put the company, which is a startup, at too much of a difficult legal position to launch with that specific product. Luckily, they're able to pivot and they have an e-commerce solution. And right now, what we're doing with Token.fm is really looking for partners that can help us, because you can sort of offset it if you're not the sole provider of all of the services. It's better for some reason. I don't know. The guys told me this. I'm just going along with that. And so, yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're going to potentially partner with somebody. I'm flirting with the idea of sort of opening up that division myself. It is, my baby. But we'll see. I think that there's a lot of opportunities to gain help from different people. So we'll see how that goes. But that's sort of where the project is now. And I don't know. I feel like I'm just running out of things to say. But maybe you guys have some questions. I could answer them for you. Go for it.
So before I became a consultant working with businesses and investors, a lot of people in the business don't know, I actually have a master's in music composition.
Oh, cool.
So music is very close to my heart, and blockchain has been a thing that can potentially give the power back to the artists and the creators. You mentioned regulation. Do you see that as the main obstacle? Do you see any other obstacles besides that to get that power to the guys that are creating?
Yeah, I think that getting music people into this stuff can be a little bit tricky. But you have like kind of different kinds of components of the character, right? You could be like me and say, "Ugh, I hate tech. Ugh, I hate finance," and so you get turned off. But musicians are always sort of on the cutting edge of things, and they could be a little bit rebellious. And part of the things that I liked about cryptocurrency for musicians early on, and that's why I've been evangelizing for such a long time, with different degrees of success, is that for an artist, they connect with somebody automatically. If somebody hears a song from me, they don't really need to know me. They already know me. You have that built-in love and trust that you really can't get so instantaneously with any other kind of relationship. So if we could get the artists to sort of, get on the blockchain train, then maybe they can also be the communicators, because, tech guys, maybe not the best communicators all the time. Sometimes they're good. If you speak nerd, but for regular people, it's really hard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Coincidentally, I have a degree in music as well, but I'm in crypto and digital marketing. I've been for 20 years. My question is, are you looking at doing this mainly for yourself, or I also have a sister who's in Nashville, very talented songwriter and everything, but and charted, on top of iTunes. She's still working a second job.
Oh, of course she is.
Template this.
Oh, it is.
It is templated so this is intended for other artists to utilize.
Correct.
On top of your platform.
Right, exactly. So that's the thing. You can make your own. I don't know what your sister's name is. Beth Coin. You know what I mean? If she gets in early, she could still get that one.
On top of your platform.
Exactly. Yeah.
She creates her own token on top. Got it.
Correct. And then again, if she wants to leave, if we end up being jerks, she can go, which is great, because you never know how things are going to turn out. Okay. One more question, sir.
Yes, I'm actually also a musician.
Ah, see, all my people. They're like, we all had to get other jobs.
Yeah, I'm more of a hobbyist, but I will be probably releasing soon, and I will be joining probably Spotify and all the incumbent streaming services that won't pay me shit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way it is. I think streaming, is the method that artists are able to disseminate their music.
Sure.
Scale. So can you talk a little bit? You mentioned that your platform kind of addresses this. Can you talk a little bit how you're able to pay musicians via streaming in a way that's better?
Sure. So I am not as involved in that aspect of like figuring out that model, but basically what they're doing is that they would charge fans like $10 a month. And instead of having unlimited music, you get credits that you would use. And so that's how you're able to pay the artist a lot more. And also you can be creating playlists. So if you're a power playlist maker, right, and you've got lots of people listening to your playlist, after a certain point there would be a kickback for the almost like they're acting like their own little mini DJs, right? And so then they're getting a little piece of the action too. And the way that we figured it was, yeah, it's annoying to pay for music. People are not really necessarily used to that. But if you're paying the same amount as you're paying for any of these other things, and you're getting to actually message directly with your favorite artist, and you're getting all that exclusivity, I don't think that people are listening to 400,000 songs in the course of a month. The average listener, the way that we calculated it, would still be getting it wouldn't end up being any more than that. And then they could also earn credits by sharing the music and doing different tasks as the artist would ask. I don't know. I'm not sure. If it's something, I don't know what it is, but it's not going to be a lot of money. I mean, come on. We're not looking to. I'm like, listen, guys, no charging the artist. Maybe it's like $20 or something, like you would at like TuneCore, to register your music, which actually would be $50 every year. But anyway, all right. Well, we're out of time right now. I really appreciate you all coming to my talk, and thank you very much to the conference for having me. And I hope to see you all later, and make sure you see Lynn tomorrow at noon. It's a very good talk. Thank you.
Tatiana Moroz.
Thank you.